Panther people, what up? Why do I have these shades on? Because the future looks bright for the Panthers. Watch Panthers supposed to Phil Perkins. I'm just going to take these off. I just look like an old guy trying to look half my age. Let's talk about the Carolina Panthers YouTube series, The Blueprint, episode 2 and 3. They went back to back basically with this, like Avengers Endgame and Infinity War, vice versa. Let's talk about episode 2. If you follow the Carolina Panthers on YouTube or on any social media channel, you've seen a lot of these interviews before. Not too much was revealed on this. You see a little bit of the behind the scenes and how they're tracking these free agents, whether it's, Hayden Hurst, Miles Sanders, Von Bell, any of these guys. Let's really just jump to episode 3. That's what we all really want to hear about. We want to hear about the decision making behind the scenes leading up to them drafting Bryce Young first overall. And then they really start off by, what they call in the business a cold open, which is Frank Reich going in front of the entire staff saying the 5 pillars of being a quarterback in his mind after coaching, just a bit of a name drop there. Let me just pick that up. Peyton freaking Manning. He talks about how he wants to be the toughest guy in the room, not just physically, but mentally as well. He's got to have the footwork. So the footwork and the finish, that's one of the most important things he has to do. Accuracy, of course, playmaking ability, and the X factor. These are all things that, in his opinion, makes up the ideal quarterback. And when you hear about that, who else do you think of but Bryce? Especially when you compare him to Peyton Manning. This is a guy who was basically another coach on the field right off the get-go. That's exactly what Bryce Young has been. And they do some clever editing in this when they're in Indianapolis for those 18-minute interviews with the players. They do a really good job making Bryce Young, who they don't really have to fake it, but they do a great job making Bryce Young look freaking brilliant. They have CJ Stroud in there. I don't know if they do this on purpose. Maybe I'm reading between the lines, but they make him look a little confused when they're talking to him. Especially Will Levis. They make him look like he's a fish out of water. He's like, bleh. Anthony Richardson, they do a good job that he's on the board. He's writing on the whiteboard. So he's a hands-on guy. And so it looks like he's kind of riffing with the coaches. But then you got Bryce Young, and he's the only one that you hear actually speak. And he is talking to Josh McCown like they're both offensive coordinators. They're both quarterback coaches. They're writing up the plays live. And the way he is breaking down the defense and, strategically, mentally, how he's breaking down the defense pre-snap, post-snap, and how he's managing the pocket, that they have that clip. And then fast forward a couple minutes when they talk about when Frank Reich and Josh McCown and all those other guys were in the office and they were hearing Bryce Young talk about the X's and O's, they were looking at each other. They kind of gave each other a glance like, whoa, this guy's special. This guy's on another level. While they mentioned the other quarterbacks, they said great things. Bryce Young was something that they'd never heard before, uncharted territory in terms of his brain. And then you just take a look at Thomas Brown, who I think down the line could be the Carolina Panthers' next head coach. You see him at the Alabama Pro Day talking to Bryce Young's dad, who is like his angel on his shoulder. He's like kind of like his agent a little bit. And they talk about how he can't wait to, he talks about growing together with him. And then, you hear Bryce Young's dad talk about the staff that they build up, and they were just so surprised. And, if you're a dad, when you become a dad or a mom or a dad-mom figure, when you have a kid, you want to put them in the best situation, the best neighborhood, that's the best schools, the best sport facilities, the best tutors, all that stuff. What better place than the Carolina Panthers? And I think Thomas Brown just looking at his face when he's listening to everything that Bryce Young is saying, that he's like, wow, I hit the jackpot. Like, he had head coaching opportunities all over the place. And arguably, obviously, if you're with Cincinnati, if you're in Philly, if you're in Los Angeles for the Chargers, you got some marquee quarterbacks out there. Obviously, Kansas City, you got some Hall of Fame potential quarterbacks, and those are great positions. But here you got a quarterback in Bryce Young. You can kind of see the wheels turning in Thomas Brown's brain that, oh my God, I can just mold this guy and we can win Lombardis together. So I thought that was an awesome part about episode 3. You really see the sentimental part about how jacked everybody was when they eventually traded up. And then they're in the draft room and they draft Bryce Young. How excited everybody was. When we talk about it here, especially me, north of the border, I get so excited about the draft. I get so excited about Bryce Young being a Carolina Panther. And then you think, oh, I'm just a fan. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, yada, yada. They're all feeling the same way at Bank of America Stadium in the War Room. So that's awesome to see that they have this enthusiasm. And, it shouldn't be a surprise, but it's great to see out in the flesh, and they document that kind of stuff. Especially shout out to Nicole Tepper. She seems to be everybody's hype man. She was hyping up Scott, hyping up Dan. Shout out to David Tepper's mom. It was her birthday, 91st birthday. They got that hometown feel during, a gigantic moment for the franchise. you know, when she met Bryce Young eventually, she hugged him. I said in my YouTube short, like, man, they have like, no one can replace his mom, but I feel like she could be that mom figure, you know, that older sister figure. Just the hug, the embrace, the way they talk to each other. It just seems like, you know, if I was a rookie quarterback, I'd feel at home being with the Carolina Panthers. And then you see the moment when they're in the locker room and Bryce is there with his parents. And I haven't reached that point yet. You know, my kid's only 2.5. But man, when he does things that, you know, that we've been working on, whether it's in walking or, you know, being polite, eating with a knife and fork, or hitting a baseball, you know, off my hand because I haven't bought a tee yet because I'm lazy. The grin on my face, the pride that I have, I can't imagine what it'd be like to walk into an NFL locker room, something you've been working on for so long. You literally move across the country from Pennsylvania to Southern California to achieve your dreams. And you're looking also at your son who's like 5'10" and a bit, 190 pounds. And you can only imagine the skepticism in his parents' brain at some point. Maybe it's just 1%, but it's still there. And their first overall pick with the Carolina Panthers in an amazing situation. They see each other and they say, not just Bryce did it, but Bryce said, we did it. And man, you can't help but get excited about that. Another part about that was really awesome. Obviously, Scott Fitterer spent like 20 years with the Seattle Seahawks right before they try to pick Bryce Young first overall. Who calls him? The general manager of his ex-team, John Schneider, the GM for the Seattle Seahawks. He asked him, hey, do you want to trade the first overall pick? And it was a joke, ha ha ha. This is a show. You know, the NFL is just one big family. It's one big family, and it's nice that he was kind of busting his balls right before the first overall pick, but also in the same way saying, hey, I'm proud of you. You made your way. You earned your stripes here 20 years. Bang, here you are, the GM of an NFL team with a first overall pick with a potentially generational quarterback. That was a great sight. They move to the rookie OTAs and the mandatory OTAs, and they talk about specifically Bryce Young and how calm, cool, and collected he is, and Josh McCown. Just amazed. This is a guy who's played with like almost every single team in the NFL. He's been everywhere, and he has seen everybody, and he's played for the Panthers. And he was amazed on how chill this guy is. His heart rate just kind of stays like this. Mine right now is probably like 160 beats per minute. But he talks about how just the little things that he points out that just kind of still blow him away. You know, the snap was up at Bryce's head, which can't be hard to do. But he didn't flinch. He still got it. He was literally talking to Josh McCown and just no look passing to receivers like it's nothing. Like he's got 4 eyes or 2 eyes on each side of his head. That'd be 6. Math. Got a video that was just released today of Bryce Young. He's got a brand new hairdo. I'm friggin' loving it. And I don't know, guys. He's got the mental, but guy's been at the gym. You know, Scott Fitterer talked about the NFL nutrition program, the weight training program. They don't show any footage of him eating or working out at Bank of America Stadium, but I don't know if it's the cut of the shirt, but he looks like he's like 200 pounds or maybe a really solid 198, and he looks good. He looks real good, and I think this guy, I don't know. I said before in previous episodes, before he was even a thought in our brain, that it looks like Bryce Young doesn't really have striated muscle. He just looks like a kid. He's like kind of like Gumby. Guy's looking jacked. Back's looking jacked, looking good. All right, let's talk about the other guys in the draft. DJ Johnson out of Oregon, the defensive end. You know, a guy that people killed a little bit because the Panthers moved up, traded up for it. And Frank Reich talked about, on their whiteboard, he actually almost predicted it. He said, move up DJ Johnson. So this is what they call their conviction guy. And if you ever watch Move the Sticks or listen to Move the Sticks or anything, there's a guy. There's what they call a pound the table guy. Whether you're an area scout or whatever, this is the guy that you're going to fight for. And it seems like the entire war room was all about this guy because he has the measurables. That's kind of a Scott Fitterer thing, height, weight, speed, and how quickly he gets to the quarterback, how athletic he is, untapped potential that he has, that they moved up. But he's a conviction guy. And so, hey, we can say whatever we want about him. The fact that they traded up to get a defensive end out of Oregon, you got to give him a shot because they believe in him. And if they believe in him, we should believe in him. Chandler Zavala out of North Carolina State, they see that he actually texted Scott Fitterer like he's like applying for a job, and he's talking to the HR person or the secretary, at Google or wherever, and saying, hey, I really want to be there. Just want to let you know, just dropping a line, just letting you know I'm still interested. I really want to be with you guys. Like that's something you do when you're applying to a normal job, not to be an NFL player. And it's so funny that calm, cool, and collected kind of playing the game, almost like Scott Fitterer is kind of Bryce Young in the pocket, but of drafting. He's like, hey, you know what? Or maybe he's like dating Scott Fitterer in this day and age. I'm sure he didn't meet his wife on Twitter or on Tinder or anything like that, but I could imagine, trying to date Scott Fitterer right now, it'd be kind of like, this guy's showing me nothing. So he sends, Chandler Zavala sends this kind of bit of a thirsty text right there, fishing a little bit. And then Scott Fitterer just says, what do I say? What do I say? I don't want to let him know that we're actually thinking about him, because then he's going to tell the other teams, and then they're going to trade up to get him. Even David Tepper comes in. Hey, who else knows about Zavala? Who else knows about Zavala? Scott Fitterer's like, hey, take a look at this. They honestly just seem like a bunch of dudes texting a girl to say, hey, what do I say next? What do I say next? To try to get a date with this person. They're all just trying to keep it cool in front of this guy. And so, Scott Fitterer eventually, after talking with Dan Morgan, everybody just says, hey, I'm just going to send him a appreciate your text to Zavala, which he does, and is playing totally cool, like, hey, I'm doing nothing. And then the next day, what do? Boom! They drop the hammer. They draft him. You see James Campen just fist bumping. I think this guy's going to be an instant hit with the team. You want to stay tuned for the other episodes. Make sure to watch it on Sunday. I'm going to drop that about a Panther player who's going to be taking the leap. It could be number 62. Let me know what you guys think about episode 2 and 3. Does it get you hype? How does it not get you hype? Let me know.